I never thought I'd be the type to get caught in a situation like this. After all, I've always prided myself on being someone who knows what she wants. I'm 34, and I've been in a loving relationship with Daniel for over 3 years. When we first met, there was an instant connection between us. It wasn't love at first sight or anything dramatic, but there was something steady about him that drew me in. He had been through his own share of heartbreak in the past, as had I. We both understood what it felt like to struggle in relationships, so when we came together, it felt like we knew exactly what we wanted, and just as importantly, what we didn't want. Daniel is amazing. He's kind, thoughtful, supportive, and treats me like I'm the most important person in his world. We've built a beautiful life together, one filled with laughter, trust, and shared goals. He's everything I've ever hoped for in a partner, and I'm proud to call him mine. I'm not someone who takes relationships lightly. So when I say that I love him, I mean it with my whole heart. There's no doubt in my mind that I want to be with him long term, and I've never once questioned my feelings for him. But then something happened. Or rather, someone. His name is Alex. Alex and I met through work a few years ago. At first, I didn't think much of him. He was just a colleague, a guy I would occasionally chat with in the break room or during lunch. But as time went on, we started spending more time together, and what began as simple conversation evolved into something deeper. We talk about work, sure, but then we begin to share our personal lives, the things that weren't so easy to talk about with others. Alex has this way about him that makes people feel comfortable. He's easy to talk to, and somehow he always knows the right thing to say. But more than that, he listens. He really listens. And it didn't take long before I started looking forward to our conversations. Our work meetings would drag on, but I would be secretly counting down the minutes until I could talk to him in the break room again. At first, I thought it was just a friendship. There was no attraction, no chemistry. But then one day, Alex made a comment that left me feeling off. It wasn't anything inappropriate, just a small remark about how he always admired the way I handled stressful situations. But the way he said it made my heart skip a beat. There was something in his voice, something that felt personal, almost intimate. I pushed it to the back of my mind, telling myself I was reading too much into it. After all, Alex was a great guy, funny, smart, easy to talk to, but I was in a committed relationship with Daniel. I love Daniel. So why was I even thinking about Alex like this? The next few weeks were a blur. I found myself becoming more and more aware of Alex's presence in the office. I noticed how his eyes lingered on me just a moment longer than they should, or how his voice softened whenever he addressed me. And the worst part, I could feel it. He felt the same way. It wasn't something either of us said directly, but it was there. The subtle glances, the way our hands would accidentally brush when we reached for the same file, the long pauses in our conversations that carried unspoken tension. I knew, deep down, that we were both tiptoeing around something dangerous, and yet nothing had changed. I was still in a loving relationship with Daniel. I still loved him, but now I found myself drawn to Alex in a way that felt both thrilling and terrifying. I didn't want to hurt Daniel. I didn't want to jeopardize what we had. We were happy. We had built a life together, and I couldn't imagine being without him. But these feelings for Alex were there, gnawing at me. And it wasn't just physical attraction. It was something deeper, something emotional. I could talk to Alex in a way that I couldn't talk to anyone else. He understood me in a way that no one else did. And every time we spent time together, it felt like we were crossing a line, even if we never acknowledged it. I had a choice to make. On one hand, there was Daniel, the man I loved, the person who had stood by me through thick and thin. On the other hand, there was Alex, someone who stirred something in me that I wasn't sure how to deal with. I couldn't act on these feelings. I knew that. No matter how strong the pull was, I couldn't betray Daniel. But I couldn't just pretend like nothing was happening either. The tension in our friendship grew. Every time Alex and I spoke, I found myself pulling back a little more, trying to maintain the boundaries I had so carefully built around myself. I didn't want things to get awkward. I didn't want to lose the friendship we had, but I also couldn't keep pretending that I wasn't aware of what was simmering beneath the surface. One evening, after a long day at work, Alex and I found ourselves standing outside together, waiting for the rain to stop so we could leave. The air was thick with unspoken words, and I knew that neither of us could keep pretending forever. I glanced at him, unsure of what to say. I know this is weird. I started, my voice shaking just slightly. But I can't keep pretending like everything's fine. I need to be honest with you. I've been feeling something I shouldn't feel. And I know you feel it too. There was a long silence. Alex didn't say anything at first, but I could see it in his eyes. He understood. He knew exactly what I meant. Finally, he spoke. I felt it too, he said quietly. But I also know that we can't act on it. We're both in relationships that matter to us. His words hit me like a cold wave, and I felt a mix of relief and sadness. Relief because he understood. Sadness because I knew deep down that what he was saying was right. We couldn't go down that path. I'm sorry, I whispered, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. I don't want to ruin anything, but I also don't want to lose our friendship. Alex smiled faintly, the tension between us easing just a little. We won't lose our friendship, he said, but we have to keep our boundaries for both our sakes. And that was the moment I realized something. It wasn't just about Alex or Daniel. It was about me, about the choices I was making, about what I valued most. I loved Daniel, and I didn't want to lose him. But I also realized that I couldn't let myself become someone I didn't recognize, someone who acted on temptation without thinking about the consequences. So I took a step back. I redefined my boundaries, not just with Alex, but with myself. I knew what I had with Daniel was special, and I couldn't let anything or anyone stand in the way of that. It's not easy. Sometimes I still feel that familiar tug when I see Alex, that old pull between us. But I know I made the right decision. I've learned that love isn't just about the passion or the attraction. It's about trust, commitment, and making the right choices, even when it's difficult. In the end, I preserved both my relationship and my friendship. I didn't act on my feelings for Alex. And while it wasn't easy, I know that I made the right choice. Because sometimes the hardest thing to do is to choose what's best for your heart in the long run.